Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. I think we all have a friend or a person in our class or friend group that everyone loves to be around. Like when they're in the room, it's just more fun, everybody's laughing, he just lightens the mood, or she just kind of brings something to the group that makes it fun. And also we've got friends or people that sometimes come into our group and it's just kind of the opposite effect. Like they make things worse. Like all of a sudden when they walk in the room, people kind of roll their eyes and people kind of get a little defensive. So we have both extremes in our friend group or in our classes at school, but we all have some degree of influence. When we walk into a room, we either have people that are glad to see us or people that are rolling their eyes and wish that maybe we weren't there, but we all have some degree of influence in the group of people that we're a part of, whether that's your team or whether that's your drama club or just your friend group. You have some kind of influence. Something happens when you walk into the room. So we all have this dynamic that we work with of influence, that we have, some kind of pull or some kind of effect on the people that are around us. And the question is, as a follower of Jesus, what do we do with this influence? Like we've got certain gifts and abilities, we've got certain personality traits, we've got certain things that we're a part of, certain groups that we're a part of. And the question is, if Jesus has called us to give up everything, because that's what it is, it's a surrender of your life to Jesus. If somehow you think that Jesus is just a part of your life, if Jesus is just something you think about on Sunday or Wednesday night or when things get really bad, that's really not being a follower of Jesus. Being a follower of Jesus means you look at what Jesus did for you on the cross. And because he died for you, you choose to live for him. So when we say we're following Jesus, it means that we're using our influence in a way that lifts up Jesus and draws people into a relationship with God. So the question is, what do you do with your influence? And I realize there's some of you that are watching this that say, Jeremy, honestly, look at me. I'm a 7th grader or I'm a 9th grader. I don't have a lot of influence. I'm quiet. I'm an introvert. I'm not popular. I'm not an athlete. I'm not someone that people really want to listen to. But here's the thing. Whether you are popular or you think that nobody listens to you, we all underestimate the amount of influence that we have on those around us. So the question is, what little influence we have or what great significant amount of influence we have, how are we going to use that influence to push people or to pull people towards a relationship with Jesus? So we're going to look at a passage of scripture that when we start the story, you're going to be like, I heard that. I know what happens next. I know how it ends. Like I've been to Sunday school. But I'm just asking you to look at this through the lens of influence and see what maybe we can learn about influence in this story. So here's how the story starts out. It says, sometime after this. And what's happened up until this point is Jesus has been doing all these miracles. And just, you can imagine, if you could do miracles, if you could heal people, if you could turn water into wine, like lots of people would want to be around you and see what you were going to do next. So there were tons of people that had been following Jesus. And Jesus realized, listen, my disciples need a break, so they get in a boat and they're planning on going somewhere. Well, what happens is the people that had been following Jesus, these large crowds, kind of realized where he was going. They're like, he's going to sail across the Sea of Galilee and he's going to go up the Jordan River to a place called Bethsaida, and we're going to go there. So what has happened is these people have run and chased after Jesus. He's on a boat going across this sea, and these people are running. Like some of them, we believe, ran up to 10 miles. And I know some of you like to run. I don't like to run, but you run a lot. But that's a long way to run to chase somebody down. But all these people wanted to see, what is Jesus going to do next? So it says, sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. So they're wanting to see what's going to happen next. What's Jesus going to do next? Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near, when Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, so they've been out all day listening to Jesus teach. It's the end of the day. It's been a hot, long day. And he turns to Philip and he says, where shall we buy bread for these people to eat? So Jesus, this miracle worker, turns to one of his disciples and says, where are we going to get food? Like, solve this problem. What are we going to do? And look what happens next. It says, he asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Which I'm just telling you, that's not Jesus being manipulative or trying to play mind games with his disciples. It's just him saying, listen, what do you think we should do? Here's a problem. What should we do? He already knew how he was going to solve the problem. And I'm telling you, that's good news for you, and it's good news for me. Because anytime we're in the midst of some issue or some struggle and we don't know how we're going to deal with the problem, like some of you may be nervous about school, like what's school going to be like? How am I going to do this virtually? Or what's it going to be like going back into school on a campus with all these restrictions? And you're like stressed about it. I'm just telling you, like Jesus already knows what he's going to do. There's never been anything that's ever happened to you. There's never been anything that's happened on planet Earth that caught God by surprise. Like COVID did not surprise God. He wasn't like, what is this? What am I going to do? No tragedy that you've ever been through has caught God off guard. And I'm just telling you, no matter what you're going through, Jesus knows how he's going to get you through it. So that's encouraging. Then it goes on, it says, Philip answered him, it would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. So actually in the original language, the phrasing is, Jesus, like even if we're going to provide just one bite for every person here, because it says there's 5,000 men. So if you take into account there were probably children and women, there's 15, 20,000 people here. If we're going to just give them one bite, it's going to take 6 months to 8 months wages to provide one bite of food for these people. So it's an impossible situation. So Philip is like, I'm not sure. Goes on, it says, another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. He says, here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. So he's like, hey, I found some food. But then he's like, but how far will they go among so many? Which I think this is one of the things we don't think about a lot. Like out of a crowd of, possibly 15 to 20,000 people, like one mom thought, man, I should pack a lunch for my kid. So this kid's over there, he's been listening to Jesus teach. He's got his little lunchbox, his Avengers lunchbox, and he opens it up and he's got these few fish and this little bit of bread. And Andrew sees it and he's like, hey, here's some food, but this is not enough to feed these people. And here's the thing I think we can learn. Like the disciples, when they looked at the problem, they looked at what they had and they thought, we don't have enough money. Like even if there's a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's, we don't have enough money to provide them food. Like we do have a little bit of food here, but this is nothing compared to what we need to meet these people's need. Like they looked at what they had around them, but they forgot they had Jesus. Like they forgot they had the Son of God. They forgot they had this miracle worker that was there. And look what happens now. I love this. Jesus said, have the people sit down. There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves and gave thanks and distributed it to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. So Jesus is like, watch this. Give me what the kid has. Like I'm going to take this. The kid's obviously willing to give Jesus this food. And he says, give me what this kid does have and watch what I can do with it. And it says they could eat as much as they wanted. See, in the beginning, the disciples were like, we just need to provide something, just a bite of food. They've been out here so long. And Jesus is like, I got more than that. I can take what this little boy has, what little bit it is, and I can provide so that these men and these women and these children have as much as they want to eat. It says, when they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. So Jesus is almost showing off, guys. He's like, I provided as much as people want, and then there's still a whole basket left over for each one of you to gather. That's incredible. Jesus was not stressed. Jesus was not trying to figure out, what am I going to do next? Jesus knew what he was going to do. And he took this little boy's food, what little bit he had, and he used it in a great way. And see, that's the challenge for us, is simply this. When we look at influence is about being willing to take what you have and give it to Jesus. That's what this little boy did. He said, here's what I got. It's not a lot, but you're welcome to have it and do what you can with it. Well, the encouraging thing for us is the same thing is set before us. Influence is about saying, God, here's what I've got. I may be a person with a lot of influence. I may be an athlete. I may be popular. I give you everything I have. Or I may be a quiet introvert like I was in school. Jesus, here's everything I have. It doesn't seem like much, but you can have it and do what you can with it. And this story shows us when you're willing to do that, Jesus is all powerful. Jesus is able to take what little bit we do have and do tremendous things. So if you're watching and you just think, man, not me, maybe somebody else in our group, maybe somebody else in my office or at my school, but I'm telling you, if you're willing to give what you have to Jesus, you can have an effect on people around you. In fact, here's a few ways. You can have an effect on your friend group. Be a leader. Lead people to Jesus. Be an example. You can have an effect on your teammates. If you're an athlete, you have an incredible opportunity to show your friends that are on the team what it looks like to follow Jesus. You can have an effect on your siblings. One of the greatest opportunities you have, if you've got younger brothers or sisters especially, that you can show them what it looks like to follow Jesus. Take the opportunity to do that. You can have an effect on your classmates. When you go back to school, whether it's virtually or in person, you can have an effect on the students that are around you. That's a huge opportunity. You can have an effect on your followers on social media. I don't understand. I'm not bashing you. I'm not hating on you, but I would love to see more about your faith on social media. Don't be ashamed of it. You post a lot of stuff about your life. Be open about the fact you go to church, that you're a follower of Jesus, that you believe certain things. Listen, I understand that may cost you something, but listen, what Jesus did for you cost him his life. So use your social media platform to do that. And also, you can have an effect on your section of the band. If you're in the band, some of you are musical, some of you are in drama and theater. Use your influence to reach people and to share Jesus. So here's the question. Are you willing to take what you have and give it to Jesus? Whether you're a middle school student, a high school student, a college student, or an adult, what do you have? What has God given you? Look at everything he's given to you and ask the question, am I willing to give this to Jesus and let him do what he can with it? Because I promise you, God can do way more than you can ever imagine if you would just trust him. And I just think about, as a group, as a student ministry, as a church, as followers of Jesus in our community, what if we all were willing to do this? What if we said, I don't have a lot. It doesn't seem like a lot to me, but here it is, Jesus. Take everything I have and do what you can. The example we looked at today with this little boy of giving what he did have fed so many people. What could God do with your life and your influence if you're willing to give it to him and surrender everything? So I encourage you to think about that, and I look forward to seeing you guys really soon.